Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho and I am here bringing you some magic, and today I am showing you game 3 of round 1 of this draft. This was my first RTR draft, and sorry it's been taking so long. I know it's probably annoying to be following this and wanting some IzDaisho gameplay, just wanting to see how the draft turns out, but it just takes a while to get these videos out, and I have other obligations as well. So, yeah, anyway. He leads off with a Doorkeeper turn 2 and a Doorkeeper turn 3, so my ground creatures probably aren't getting anywhere anytime soon. Luckily, I did draw Tristani here, and Tristani, I mean, it's very useful. It can just end the game if it's in a board stall, although I really still don't want to be getting in a board stall with this guy. He's got those Horncaller's Chance, and he's got some Populate, and he has the Guild Mage, which also can just win the game on its own, given enough mana. And given the fact that he started off Doorkeeper, Runewing, that's not really good for me. But luckily I do have this Towering Indrik to wall off his Runewing, and it also allows me to gain some life. So that was just a pretty good scenario for me. But he's got a Knightly Valor, and that means that he's just going to be able to fly on over my Towering Indrik. So now I basically have to answer that Runewing, and I've talked about this in a different video, but Runewing with a Knightly Valor is just really bad, because even if you do kill it, then first of all, I've already taken 4 from it. Second of all, I mean, I've got to waste a card on it, and then he's going to draw, and he also still gets the 2/2 Knight, which is like, I mean, the 2/2 Vigilance Knight really isn't that good. Basically, in some games, it ends up being relevant, but when I have a 2/5 and a 2/4, and he's got 0/4s, just 2/2s are not going to be relevant for either of us. But now let's talk about this attack that I make, which is, I think, pretty interesting. I swing in with a 2/5 and a 2/4 against his 4/4 Vigilant, his 0/4, his 0/4, and his 2/2. So there's no point in me making this attack other than me obviously having a combat trick. He would just eat up my 2/4 instantly with his 4/4, and that basically just should provide some like alarms in his head, like, okay, something's wrong here. He also could have attacked with the Selesnya Key-Rune, but he chose not to do that. So rather than try and block with his Runewing, which is really what I had hoped he would do, or that I would get some damage through, he just decides to block with the Doorkeepers, which is not like ideal for me, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like since I made the attack, he knows I have a combat trick, and especially since I tapped that 2 mana, then he really knows I have that combat trick, so I decided to just play it, get rid of a Doorkeeper. I mean, it'll help me get through the ground later on, and it also, in case he draws his Axebane Guardians, they'll be a little bit weaker. And by weaker, I mean tap for less mana. But anyway, I end up just passing the turn, and luckily for me, it's not just because I don't have anything, it's because I do have something that I want to cast at instant speed. I also tap my mana specifically instead of the Key-Rune, not just because I want to leave the 3/3 back to block, although that is a consideration, but just to try to make it like a little bit more tricky, seem that I don't actually have enough mana to cast the Avenging Arrow that I do have. But anyway, as I said, he just got so much value out of that. He also got to hit me for 8, draw a card, and get a 2/2 Knight, and he got all that for just my 1 Avenging Arrow. So Avenging Arrow is not the greatest removal, but I mean, it's removal, so so you run it. But again, I took 3 of them, and I think I only had 2 of them in the deck at this point. And then by the end of the draft, I'm like, you know what, I don't even want any more. So I only ended up with a couple of them in the end. But yeah, that's it's not really all that important here. The board is not really looking like it's changing. I don't have any tokens yet, so that's not really good. But I do have another Key-Rune, so I'll play it. And 2 Selesnya Key-Runes is fine. It just means that I have a bunch of mana. I haven't been hitting my land drops, so they're kind of just like lands. But later on, they do play a role, which is actually really important, other than just tapping mana. But he's got access to 8 lands here, and you guys know what that means. 8 lands means a Horncaller's Chant, and that's 2 4/4 Rhinos, and that's just going to be really hard for me to beat. So this game is just so swingy. There's so many points where it's just like, man, how can I come back from this? And then he's like, man, how can I come back from that? So like, Knightly Valor and Runewing is just one of those things. It's like, wow, what am I going to do to beat that? And then like, I mean, even before that, I just played Tristani, and he's like, man, that's just going to be really rough. and there's just so many different times in this game, and I'll try to point them out when they happen, but definitely slamming Horncaller's chant was one of those. So I did gain 2 life from the Eyes in the Skies that I played for my Tristani. I swing in for 2 in the air, and I mean, he can't block them, so that's pretty good. Like, I can start getting my air beatdown going. His 4/4s aren't that relevant because I do have a 2/5, and like I can just double block the other one with a Towering Indrik and a Selesnya Kirun, and then that's pretty good for me. So my blocks are okay on his. I mean, I can basically just trade off my Kiruns or one of my Indriks maybe for his dudes. So that's pretty good for me. I don't play a spell because I want to be able to activate my key runes to block, and here it's just another extremely critical play. It's going to take him a while, I think, to actually figure out what to do. But first he plays a Knightly Valor, and then he's trying to decide on attacks here. So he's got a 2/2, his creatures that can attack are a 2/2 Knight, a 4/4 Trampley Rhino, and a 6/6 Vigilance Trampley Rhino. And if you assess the board currently, I do have 7 mana available to me, which means that I can easily activate both my key runes. So if he does swing in, I can just trade off my key runes, and then I can double block the other thing. So I can trade off my key runes and my Indrik to kill his 2 4/4s, which is probably worth it at this point, so that he can't start populating those things, and that's just not where I want to be. And then I still have my my Tristani and my 2 birds, and I can make another bird and then start attacking with that, and then I'm in okay shape. But right here, I do make that same block that I was just talking about, and he's counting damage, but luckily for me, I've still got a spell, and I'm gonna play a Rootborn Defenses here, and that's like pretty much the best ever use for Rootborn Defenses. I get to save all my guys, and I get to put another bird into play, and it gains me a life. It's just like, oh my god, it does not really get better than that. So that was really fortunate for me. So right now I have the opportunity of just activating my key runes, cracking back with everything, but he's gonna be able to block everything pretty okayly. He's got 2 knights, I believe. So he's pretty okay in terms. Yeah, he's got 2 knights over there. So if I swing with a key rune, you can just double block it and kill it, and then like trade off. And I'm not really too happy or too excited about that. And then he can just block the Tristani or the Indrik with his Axebane Guardian, and the Selesnya Kirun with his Doorkeeper. So he's got some pretty good blocks if I just do that activate and attack with everyone. So I do not believe that is my play. I think I'm going to cast a Knightly Valor and enchant one of my birds with it. So that's pretty sweet. I'm going to be able to make the clock go from a 6-turn clock into like a 4-turn clock, and it's even better since I can probably populate a bird at some point, and then maybe, well, I think it would still be a 4-turn clock unless I was able to do it this turn, which I'm not because I don't have the extra land that I would need to also populate. But I do attack here for 5, take him down to 13, and I think, yeah, I don't attack with my Tristani or my Towering Indrik. There's not really any point. They're just gonna get blocked and bounce off. Nothing good will come of it other than my dudes will be tapped now instead, and he'll be able to attack me. So he is pretty excited because the reason why he built this entire deck is so that he could play a World Spine Worm. That's why he's got all these dirty defenders and stuff, just that he could slam a World Spine Worm like that. And that's the next point in the game, which was extremely disheartening for me when my opponent drops a 15/15 trample that when it dies he gets 3 5/5 tramples. Like, you can't do anything to just beat that card. Like, I mean, I guess like a rest kind of destroys it, but I mean, man, that card is brutal. I'm at 21 life, so I know I can take a hit, and luckily I can do more than just take a hit because I have an Azurius Justiciar. So he's going to be able to detain the worm, prevent him from attacking for a turn, and I can also detain another thing. I think I detained either a Knight or a Doorkeeper or something like that. So now it actually makes sense to attack with everything. I probably should have activated a Key Rune here too, and I think that is actually a really bad play. Maybe my thought process was that I wanted to save one of the key runes so that I could so that I could block with them. But I just don't think that's the right play because I'm still at 23, and if I attack with them, then it makes sure that I have lethal in the air coming through next turn. I guess, man, I really don't know what I was thinking there, but yeah, oh well. So I didn't attack with one of the key runes. Maybe I had an instant in my hand that I wanted to be able to cast, like an Avenging Arrow or I don't know, Giant Growth even. But anyway, he plays a Tower Drake, which is bad for me because that basically buys him an extra turn here, and that's bad because he's got that World Spine Worm out. So now he can just block and actually buys him 2 turns because he can just pump the toughness on his Tower Drake, so then his World Spine Worm will be able to just get in for a ton of damage, and that'll be pretty bad. But luckily for me, I do have a Knightly Valor, so then that'll again change the clock so that I'll be able to win in 2 turns instead of later. But anyway, I do get the extra knight and I gain some life. I attack here, he blocks one of them, pumps the toughness, and luckily for me, I have a Giant Growth and I'm able to end up finishing the game. So somehow I managed to win through a World Spine Worm. I thought that was pretty impressive. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be back for round 2 tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye.